Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Paludarium's looking awesome behind me, growing in well. I'll give you another update video on that. We're going to put some more fish in there at a later date once those nice little rudd have settled in. They're all doing well and feeding like little crazy people. Right, so what we're going to look at today is my little shrimp tank, which I've got down there, the one we did that little setting up a little breeding colony on. And we've got lots and lots of babies in there. I did a video probably about 3 weeks ago now, of when the babies were very, very small, and now they've grown up. Some of on there about their third shed, I would say, and some of them are just hatched. There's a lot of little clear ones in there, which when they first hatch out from their little berries from underneath the mum, they pop out and they're a very, very light colour. So we're going to have a look at those as well, and I'll have a little chat through about what's been going on in the tank. We're going to chuck in a massive big chunk of broccoli as well, I thought, in there, and give them a feast, because I've been feeding them on various other foods like stinging nettles. We'll get into that in a minute. And I'm bringing these guys on. A little bit of algae in the tank, not to worry about that. I encourage the algae in there because that is what feeds the babies and gets such a good colony and a strong colony going. So that's what you got to, if you're thinking about breeding shrimps, you don't want a show tank. Show tanks, obviously, you've got to keep nutrients down, and when you do keep the nutrients down low, your shrimp aren't going to do as well, because they're going to, a lot of them, believe it or not, can starve to death, because they'll clean up that biofilm and that algae so quickly that they'll run out of food, and if you're not feeding them regularly, they can starve to death. A lot of people lose them, or they won't shed properly, they won't molt properly, because they've got the calcium and all the other minerals that they need to shed that shell off. Okay, you see a lot of them, they get that little band across the back there, and when they try and break out, they can't break out. That little exoskeleton is either too stiff for them, or they haven't got the strength to actually burst through it and get out, and you can lose them sadly that way. So anyway, I'm going to flip you around now, and we'll have a check these out and see what's going on. I got my coffee, it's nice and early in the morning, so let's rock and roll. Right guys, there you go, we're on the tank. You can see now that a lot of the rocks now have gone green. This is what happens when you overload a tank with nutrients. That's why anyone with an aquascape will know that, because the rocks are going to turn green. It doesn't matter, well really, it doesn't matter how much or how frequently you feed a tank, they're going to go green. You're going to get little pockets of algae, and it's going to grow on the stone and within the pores of the stone, and the shrimp aren't going to be able to get it out. That's why a lot of people get despondent with aquascapes, because they lose that nice bright colour of the stone when you first see these aquascapes done in people's tanks. And a lot of guys that just concentrate on these, you'll find that the stones look perfect. They've got that lovely little sand creek going through there with the overhanging branches, and it all looks beautiful, and it will look beautiful for a couple of months, and then after that it'll all go different greens. The algae are going to grow, and nature will take over no matter what you do. That's why you find a lot of these people that do tanks will do them for a month or so, and then you'll see them tear them apart and redo another one, because it gets it all back to looking beautiful and fresh again, new fresh plants. And so if you're going to start an aquascape up, just be aware of all that, because these things do happen. And right, to the shrimps, as you can see, they're little red dots absolutely everywhere. Little tiny ones, you can see that little one just there, just hopping about on that filter there. Little bit of hair algae on the filters, tiny little bit of blackbeard algae actually growing on that side. Like I said, I'm not worried about that. This isn't a show tank, this is just purely for breeding purposes only, and you can see by the abundance of the shrimp in there that they're doing extremely well. Now I've been feeding them stinging nettles, bramble leaves, apple leaves. I blanch all these. If you're not sure what that means, you just put them in a microwave or in a pot of boiling water, or boil a kettle, and just stick them in a cup and just steep it in there for a little bit until it softens those fibres up, which then these guys can pull apart. Okay, now what I've got is a lovely big chunk of broccoli, which I've had in some water. I boiled it last night. Look at that massive great floret. Now don't be worried about putting in big chunks like this, because you don't have to leave it in there forever. They're going to get all the nutrients and things what they want from this. Probably all the little florets on the top, you'll find they'll take all those off first. So I'm just going to sink this little guy down, and then you'll see them, just move my light out of the way, they'll migrate towards it, and they absolutely love this stuff. They really do. Now it could float, or you might see it sink. There you go. Boom, touchdown. And that couldn't have landed any better. So you'll see all those little shrimps now, they're going to start to migrate towards that, and they'll be on it in no time at all. You'll see them creeping around on it. So I'm going to finish my coffee and I'll get back to you guys when we've got a few on there, and we'll do a little close-up and we'll carry on the chat. Well, there you go guys, that was a little bit of speedy footage for you there, going like crazy. Now you'll see there's a few, well I say a few, there's quite a lot of shrimp on that piece of broccoli, but there's also, if I just take you up and let you have a little look around as well, sorry about the glare, you'll see a little cherry tree there still got lots and lots and lots of babies and adults in and amongst it, just grazing away, lots of them on the side of the tank as well. Over this side on the filters, in between the filters, the bars of the filter, and on the side as well. You can see all that algae there, which now and again I'll just put my scraper across, scrape a nice big chunk off for them, and they'll go down and they'll eat that as well. Like I said, a bit of hair algae in there, not to worry, a little bit of Monte Carlo I put in there as well. But you'll see there's lots and lots of shrimp everywhere. Now you'll see on a lot of these shrimp channels in different places, say some of them give good advice and some of them don't, but you'll see that they're not going absolutely crazy. Now you'll see a lot of these channels, they'll put a piece of food in and the shrimp go absolutely ballistic for it. They're covering it, they're fighting over each other to get to it, and basically that's because they're starving and they don't feed them for about a few days, or they keep the food that low. Like I said, a lot of these shrimps will die, and you'll think, why is it? And it's because you've been listening. I'll keep the food, keep the nutrients down, everything else, feed everything in a tiny little glass bowl on the bottom, and what have you. Oh, look, there's a little louse there that was still in here from when I had that wood from the forest. He's a little clean-up crew as well in nature in the UK here. He's not going to do anyone any harm. I'll get the old pipette and suck him out and blow him into my paludarium if I see him again. And but yeah, that always make sure your shrimps aren't attacking food like crazy. Some people say, oh, my food, you know, I put the food in and they don't go near it. Well, in that case, they're full up and they're just meandering around looking for things to eat around the tank, and they're quite happy. But when you see them just slowly there, one there, they're not fighting over each other, trying to shoo each other. Sometimes you'll see them on the food and you'll get one there and it'll be bullying the other one, trying to get him off the food, and they're basically fighting over the food because they're that hungry. Anyway, I think I've put that point across. Keep the food up, don't starve your shrimps, because you'll lose them that way and you'll wonder why they're dying, because you've listened to people and you're underfeeding them. Okay, full of high mineralization in that. We've got lots of potassium, we've got lots of calcium, magnesium, all that kind of good stuff in amongst that broccoli. Now that is going to aid in their shedding. Like I said earlier, you're not going to get the old band of death, as it's called, where if you look, it's going to be right around here. If you look there, if you'll keep still and be a mime model, there you go, about there you get that yellow band. Now sometimes it can be the ovaries inside before they're going to drop the eggs down, okay, but sometimes they'll get that band going across there, and that can and then sometimes you'll find them dead on the bottom, and that's basically they can't get out of their exoskeleton and shed then into their new one. They outgrow them, and away you go. Well, there's that little guy again, look, there you see, he's not doing anyone any harm, he's just feeding on the broccoli like everybody else is. Look, also a member of the shrimp family as well, no doubt. But there you go. Stinger nettles, another really good and prolific in the UK and various other parts of the world. Blanch them, put them in there, and they'll readily accept those. But if you soften them up first, obviously leaves, put in almond leaves, you can put in various leaves. You can put them in dry, they'll naturally break down and add tannins to the water as well. These are Neocaradinas, obviously, these are Bloody Marys, and obviously they don't need those pristine, more pristine conditions, I should say, water conditions. But the Sakuras, all the different types of Neocaradina, the Broil Blues and all those kinds of things, easier to keep. But they're really tucking into that now, absolutely amazing. A lot of people ask me what the substrate is in this tank. Now it's JBL Proscape, it's a plant substrate, okay, obviously for plants, for rooting and everything else, but this is seriously old stuff now. That's why I've put it in here, because it's lost its buffering capacity. Okay, so it's got nothing left in it. It's pretty dead now of any nutrients, so it's not going to affect the TDS that much, okay, in the water. So you're going to keep that TDS is going to be higher, okay, so you haven't got to worry about. And obviously with all those big stones in there as well, those total dissolved solids, TDS is going to be a lot higher, which these guys prefer as well. Okay, they'll withstand a lot higher TDS. Now I've got a sponge filter each side. They're both twins, doesn't matter if they're twins. As you can see, twin filters there, twin filters there. Okay, doesn't matter what filters you use. Obviously these are twin sponges, so they've got more surface area for bacteria to colonize. And I put two in there because, like I said, it's heavily fed, so it keeps all your levels nice and spot on. Then, okay, you're not having anything. If you know for a fact, if you get any ammonia spikes in a shrimp tank, you'll wipe the whole colony out in no time at all. So it's always best to make sure you get a very, very cycled tank first. That's why with this colony, if you're not sure of the other episodes, pop back on my playlists or just go down my list of videos and you'll see from start to finish. This is where I bred the newts in this tank. Obviously there was full of nutrients in there and the algae bloomed, and that's why I started off the shrimp tank, because it's full of food, and this is why we've got this huge abundance now of shrimp, which is great for you youngsters out there or college folk. If you want to keep a little shrimp tank, you can go and buy yourself a little pair. No doubt if you go into the shops you'll see them with berries on already. You can pick those. There is a chance that you will lose those, the parents, but before they pass on, normally they'll go through that gestation period, and you'll find that the berries will be all over the place, and they'll have hatched out, and then you'll end up with an abundance of shrimps like these. Okay, then you can bring them guys on as well, so it's a bit of a head start for you if you want to do that. A lot of people were asking me about the Biozome. Now I've had this Biozome for a long time. This is the stuff I use, which is absolutely fantastic. It's not just for the crystal red shrimp, it's for all shrimp, okay, and it's really good stuff. A lot of people say they can't get it. Bacter AE is another very good one as well. You can use that. That's for your baby shrimps. Obviously you've got to put that in now and again as well. It's just a supplement feed. Obviously I feed the pollen as well, which I've got in my little pot here. I'll link that. I'll just show you what that's like. Okay, there you go. That's the shrimp pollen there. Okay, if I grab a piece of that, you'll see it go down like I did in the last video. It goes down at little bombs. I'll see if I can land some bombs on the broccoli. Yeah, well, sorry mate, I landed right on your head with that one. And this is the stuff that the babies will eat more. Here comes some more. You can see it breaks up beautiful in the water. And you'll see that all drifting down in a minute. And they go absolutely crazy for it. Here it comes. You'll see them all act up a little bit more in a minute, because they absolutely thrive on this stuff. They really do. Here they go. Still coming down. Acting a little bit quicker now. Because it's a very fine particulate food, they can pick it up and shove it in their little mouths very, very quickly as well. And with some of the baby ones, it's all full of good stuff for them as well, to keep them nice and fit and healthy. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Yes, it's a very rewarding thing, getting a little tank, buying a couple of pairs of shrimp and seeing from just two or three or four shrimp, and then you end up with, oh, there's over 100 in this tank now, I would have thought, easily, with lots and lots on the way as well. And this is the time also, guys, when you want to be taking out your not as colourful ones. Obviously once they go red, you'll see the babies are super red still. I've been doing this little colony now for many years. I've had this colony, just keep breeding and breeding and breeding. I take out the less colourful ones and I rehome them, or I put them in another tank, and I just keep the strongest of the colours in this tank as well. You'll find the females are lovely and big and red, and the males are just a little bit more transparent in colour than the females. You can see even the baby females down on the bottom, right down here, they're super red as well. And you can make your own little colony up, and it's fantastic. And especially if you're young, like when I was younger, we never had any shrimps. None of these shrimps were available back in the day. Well, maybe they were back in the country of origin, but they weren't, you know, we couldn't get anything like that here at all. And it's lovely to get these now and to get a nice little colony going. And you can share them around, you can sell them, you can swap them if you want to start off another colony of a different colour. But one thing I will say, got a load of people ask me this question actually. They say, when you're actually putting shrimp together, why have you only got your one colour in one tank? Can't we mix in all the colours together? In a word, you can, but by doing that, you're going to mix those genetics up, okay? Now, these have been line bred to get that colour. And if you put in, say, a pumpkin or a royal blue, or, you know, one of those different types, a yellow sakura, you'll find that they will crossbreed, but then your babies are going to start reverting back to that dull green natural colour that they were when they were found in the wild, okay, before they started playing around with the genetics of these guys to get the shrimps of the colours that we've got today. So yes, you can put them all in the tank together. All the parents obviously will stay the same colour, but the offspring will slowly revert back to a wild state, okay? They get that light green. And if some of you people have messaged me and said, oh, I've got a green one in the tank, or I've got a light green one with like a yellow stripe up the back, and that's basically them slowly reverting. Sometimes you'll get those throwbacks that'll go in and you'll get different colours, which will pop up. You'll get maybe a light green or a light yellow or this, that and the other, but in time they will go back to their natural, like an olivey greeny sort of a colour, you know, that you see them in the wild. Fantastic guys, always busy. Other questions I get as well, can I keep these shrimp with fish? Yes, you can. You can keep them with small fish, little galaxy rasboras, little tiny fish like that, chili rasboras, obviously very, very small fish that can't eat them, or anything. I mean, guppies, I've had them in with guppies and things, they're fine. Obviously they're more herbivores than you know, than omnivore. They are omnivores, they will eat anything, but they're not going to go for your adult shrimp. They might pick off the babies, and that's the only trouble you'll get is the babies. Now if you've got a tree like the one I've got there, all your babies, the shrimp will actually go up into that and they will release those babies into it. Now some of the babies are going to be quite clever and they're going to stay in there, other ones are going to pop out and get predated on, but it all depends. Now these, obviously, once you keep these guys in really good conditions like I've got them in here, they're going to breed like crazy, okay? So you could in effect have them in with bigger fish if you want to just keep the numbers down. I know a lot of people that keep them with that. I know a friend of mine who's got them in with some tetras, and you'll find these tetras will pick the babies off, but the tetras aren't going to harm the adults, okay? Because they're relatively about half the size of a tetra, so I mean, there's no way they're going to get them. They may annoy them, they may have a little pick at them just to scare them off a bit of food, but that's going to be about the obviously anything like cichlids, anything like that, a big no-no. That's just a snack straight in the tank, and it's an expensive way to feed your fish. Any predatory fish are going to take these guys out, okay? But your nicer fish like your tetras, all your tetra family, well, not most of the tetra family I should say, are going to leave these guys alone, okay? Things like gouramis are going to pick them off as well, the babies. I know my brother's got a tank and he keeps shrimp in with his, and he's got quite a few gouramis in there and different fish in there, and they don't tend to worry them. So yeah, you can keep them, but obviously keep in mind of mouth size. If it can fit in a fish's mouth, no doubt that's where it'll end up, okay? Yep, look at all those little guys having fun. Fantastic stuff. That little guy down there was just tugging away on that piece. Mr. Snail, guaranteed. Oh, look at those scratches, nasty. Look at your breeding tank. But you can see those little feet going away, pulling away. They've got little bristles and claws, so they basically sweep together and then grip with the claw, which is inside those little sweepers, and they can pull it off. You can see that. I don't know how close I can get. This camera's not brilliant. There you go. You can see him grabbing away, and now you're going to hide. Fantastic. Let's see if anyone over here is going to give us a demo. Maybe this little guy down here. Look at that. Beautiful little shrimp that is. Now if you look down here in amongst that substrate, you may see some very, very tiny PLANREIA. Now they're not good in a shrimp tank, okay? If you see these little white worms whizzing around on your glass with like little arrow-shaped heads, you've got PLANREIA. Now they can be a nuisance in a shrimp tank, okay? They can get up under the abdomens and cause a right load of nuisances, but they're very, very minimal in here because I use this stuff, okay? It's called no PLANREIA. That's a PLANREIA. If you see that on the glass, okay, you've got them. So what you do, you basically, there you go, there's your destructions there. 1 spoonful 24 hours, 0.5, 48 and 0.25, 72 hours, okay? And that wipes them out in no time at all, okay? It's good stuff. It's not the cheapest, but it's very, very good to have in your armory, okay? Just in case you get them. Now, that's one of the downsides of feeding a lot of food, is you get a lot of PLANREIA. Now, you only need a couple in the tank to kick them off, and they'll be away. But this stuff wipes them out. Like I say, 72 hours, they're gone. And then within maybe, you may not get all of them, but then once you see them coming back again, a couple of scoops or the prescribed dose in there, sorry, and you'll get them all, and they'll be gone again, okay? So it's not to worry about that. Obviously in show tanks and things you don't get them, but in more of a breeding scenario you're more likely to pick them up. But they're nothing to worry about. As you can see, the shrimp are absolutely thriving in this tank, and they've been in here for as long as the shrimp have, and they've not caused me any problem at all. That stuff wipes them out in no time at all. And if you want to go on Amazon or something and buy some, I'll stick a link down below, and if you buy it from there, that's going to help me out, because I'll get a little commission off of that, which will be fantastic. There's one of those little lice there, look at that little guy. See, he's a little algae grazer, long antenna, little louse, and he's just cleaning up the algae off of that stone. It's like a little underwater wood lice or a wood louse. Fantastic. I like keeping all little creatures. Everyone's got its place. PLANREIA haven't got their place in this tank. You can see the copepods on the glass. That little guy, look. There's all kinds of worms. There's a little worm there, look. Got the little worms under the substrate there as well. What else can we find? Look at that beautiful specimen there. Look at that. You can tell that the female, that big dish scale, like a big frying pan. Look at that. Right on the top of the abdomen there. If I can find with my tongs where I'm supposed to be pointing. Where are you? Oh, there you are. That big dish scale right there. Look. Now that is an absolutely beautiful example of a female. And you'll see that on all the Neocaradina. Oh, obviously some of the Caradina shrimp, it's harder to see because of the colour variations. Look at that little male there, absolutely beautiful. You got little like white spots all over him. But I do love to watch them. Yeah, Mr. Snail had a good clean there. I can't believe that. He's gone right from the bottom there. Crawled right up to the top in a matter of a couple of minutes. Look at that. He's in heaven. All this greenery, and it's all mine, he's saying. It's all mine. Well, there you go, guys. A load of the shrimp there. They've just found a nice big chunk up that bee pollen, which has decided to go up. Let's follow it, and then it will pop and fall back down again. Will it? Will it? No, it's going to get stuck in a tree. There you go, never mind. But this is how much these little guys love it, especially the younger ones, you see. Mr. Louse has found it as well. I think there's about 3 or 4 in here. You try and find you some of the tiniest shrimp. You can see how red they've gone already. But some of them are absolutely minute. Okay guys, there you go. Now there's one which is probably only a few days old. If you look further down, you can see, oh, there's a few more of them. There's about another 5 or 6 up the side of the glass there. Further back, this damn camera is not going to focus for me today. But that's what they're like when they first come out, and before they're first shed. That's what they look like. Ah, there you go. There's one right in the centre of the screen now on that rock. Look at that. You can see the coloration on him. That, you can see the stomach that's on the back of the head there. You can imagine that all curled up now into a little ball a few days ago. Still on the mum. One on the side of the glass there by the snail as well. Let's go back a bit more clear. There you go. Another one on the top there. You just don't realise how many you've got, and as soon as they shed a couple of times and they go red, you just get this massive explosion. You'll wake up one morning and think, my goodness, how many of these things have I got? And you'll be inundated with them in no time at all. And that's where the powder foods, like I said in the earlier one, all come in handy. Just have a look on the rocks here. And like a couple of sheds later, you see they start going that very, very light red. There's a good transition there. Look, 1, 2, 3. One on the right first, one on the left, and then the one in the middle. That's probably a 3 shed stage there, which is quite interesting for you guys to see. Look at that. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. So there you go, guys. If you want to get yourself a lovely colony of cherry shrimp, Bloody Mary shrimp, super reds, whatever you want to call them, there's so many names out there these days. Go and get yourself some from your shop, your local shop. Support those guys, and you'll end up with this, and it's absolutely fantastic. Like I said, you can share them around with your mates, you can sell them, bit of credit back in the shop, they'll take them back off you, maybe give you a pot of food, and you can have a nice little self-sustaining little colony. Anyway guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the old subscribe button, hit the old subscribe button and that notification bell for up and coming videos. As always, I love you loads, take care, and I'll see you on the next edition of Mark's Aquatics. Bye for now.